Okay, we are now on the third part. This time we're going to talk about the other half of our module. And first, we have to define centroids. Centroid is the point defining the geometric center of an object line, whether that is a line, a plane area, or a solid. That lies on the axis of symmetry if the object has such axis and may not be located on some cases. And take note, it depends solely on shape and geometry, not on material properties. So when we say centroid, we are disregarding what type of material we are talking about. Okay, we are just concerned with the shape. Okay, and normally we use the concept of centroid for simpler analysis. Okay, and we're going to see you're going to see later that we have other another term very closely related to centroid. Okay. In the meantime, you can observe this image, this animation, and you may wonder why, how come one of the parts doesn't veer off, or any of these parts doesn't veer off or get dislocated, or how come they are moving gracefully? They are moving in a uniform pattern, okay, repeatedly. Okay. So I think this is something that we want in engineering systems. That the components are moving gracefully in harmony with each other. Okay. I guess that's something you have to bear in mind. Okay. Components in a system must interact with another in harmony. Okay. Otherwise, chaos could occur, and of course, that's something that we don't want, right? We have to uh because of centroids, that could be possible. These components could move in harmony by, of course, dealing with centroids. Of course, by with the help also of our knowledge in vectors. Okay, so we are actually dealing more or getting a deeper analysis on vectors by introducing the concept of centroids. Okay, and okay. So in the meantime, let's try to understand how vectors or how centroids are being derived. Okay, in triangles, it is very easy because the centroid is two-thirds of the distance from each vertex to the midpoint of the opposite side. Okay, how 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 did mathematicians come up with this theory? It's in the animation. You can observe the animation. Okay. For this example, we have this triangle and we have says here the side AG. Okay, A, where's letter G? Okay, G is at the center. Uh Side AG is two-thirds of the side AF. Okay, AG, this is AG and AF. Okay, so two-thirds of AF. If AF is 4 plus 2, which is 6, then two-thirds of 6 is 4. Okay, so that's just one of that's the three parts of a triangle. So you can do so in the other two parts, right? And okay, take note that this is applicable also in other types of triangles. It doesn't have to be equilateral in all cases. Okay, also applies in isosceles, scalene, right, or even in obtuse triangles. All right. Take note that each median is split into two parts such that the longer part is twice the length of the shorter part. So, for example, if we have CG, CG, that is twice of DG. Okay, because it is two-thirds of the entire uh There's a term for this. I forgot. I guess this is an angle bisector. I'm not sure of the terms. Okay, but we are not. This is the centroid theorem, and usually, we can use this principle to um derive also the centroid of other uh planar areas or plane areas, other shapes. Okay. Um, for lines, it is way easier to find the centroid of a line, especially if it's a straight line. For a straight line, you just locate the midpoint. Okay. So if, for example, if we have a length of 10, for example, a line with a length of 10 will have its centroid at the middle. So 10, that would mean 5. Okay. So, uh, if this is 10, then 5 is the middle. So that's the location of your centroid. Okay. But if it's a curve, then things can get complicated. In terms of line, the centroid could be outside of the line. Okay, there especially in the concept of curves like circles, arcs, right, and other irregular curves. Okay, but in general, for a line composed of differential elements, DL, then we can derive the x and y coordinates of your centroid using integration or yes, using integration. Okay, so using this formula, we have 1 over L multiplied by the integral of x and DL. Um, Okay, let's zoom in. Okay. If this is the curve, then the DL is like strip, okay, around your within your curve. Okay. So any portion of your curve will have a DL, corresponding DL. And basically that's the concept here. Okay, just take the derivative of your, or I mean the integral of your x and with respect to dl. Okay, and divided by the length. Right, same thing with y, with the y component. Okay, and this is usually we use this in analyzing wire routing paths and antenna shapes. Okay, so centroid is important, remember, when we are analyzing vectors. So that's why we have to locate the centroid of a line, a plane area, or a solid before we can have a more proper and more accurate representation of our vectors. Okay. Um, Also, when it comes to plane areas, the centroid of a plane area can be located using this formula. So this time, um, still we have integration, but this time what we divide is the area, okay, instead of the length. And then in terms of instead of DL, we now the DA. Okay, so similar formula. Okay, and as you can see, for squares, the easiest uh, shape is of course the square because it's just the half. Okay, and we just basically locate the midpoint of each midpoint of the length and midpoint of the height. Okay, uh, when it comes to solid, as you can see, the pattern is still the same. Just divide instead of length or area, this time we divide by the volume. And instead of DL or DA, we now have the DV. Right? So I'm not going to discuss how do we do this because this is part of your integral calculus. But we're going to have some examples in our handout and also in our face-to-face discussion. Okay, so in the meantime, just observe the pattern of our formula. And basically, again, this concept considers only the geometric properties of our line, our plane area, or our solids. Okay, we're not concerned of what type of material is being used here, or we're not even concerned of their respective masses. Okay, so that's an introduction about centroids. Now, we're introducing another term. Okay, this is the more specific one actually. We have the center of mass. Sometimes or on Earth, it can be said that it can also be considered the center of gravity. So center of mass or the COM is the point at which the entire mass of a body may be considered to act. It coincides with the centroid only if the material of the object is homogeneous, where the density is constant throughout the body. So homogeneous, in case you don't know the term homogeneous, like what we have in chemistry, homogeneous mixture, just imagine what's a nice. Okay, for example, you have a fruit salad. Okay, a fruit salad can only be considered homogeneous if each scoop that you get, in each scoop you get exact proportion of the different ingredients. Okay, also in coffee, 3-in-1 coffee, whenever you scoop from the cup of coffee of or from a pack of coffee, 3-in-1 coffee. Whenever you scoop, you get exact number of coffee granules, sugar granules, and granules. Okay, so that's homogeneous. Okay, the ingredients or the parts are equal or are proportional in every portion. Okay. Um, for example, in physics, if you have a ball that is homogeneous, then it will be easier to spin it around. Okay. Basketballs are normally homogeneous because the material used for its surface is homogeneous, plus the area or the volume, the empty part of it, which is filled by the air, is homogeneous because air is considered easily considered to be homogeneous. Okay, in most cases, right? So that's why the density inside the air is uniform, constant throughout the enclosure of the ball. Okay, so that's one reason why balls can basketballs can do that, or we can do this. What you see in the animation. Okay, so again, the centroid will be equal only to the center of mass in the case of homogeneous objects. Okay, so that's the point of this slide only, right? And okay, I'll add this part. Center of mass will be equal to the center of gravity if we are talking about objects on Earth only. Okay, once we go out of space, then these two terms will be different. Okay, so now let's see where do we specifically apply centroids and COMs. Okay. It says here they are basically used to analyze structural stability, predict system response to forces and motion, and simplify dynamic and control models. For now, I believe you can't appreciate these things, these terminologies, but this is somewhat like an foreshadowing of what's next, what's to come in our next modules. Um, in especially in higher courses. Okay, for example, we in robotics, drones, and automated systems, incorrect COM estimation leads to vibration, instability, and control errors. Okay, that's what I mentioned earlier. In a system, they have the parts must be moving and interacting with one another in harmony. Okay? Harmony, that means they're not in conflict with each other. Nothing is in conflict. Nothing causes chaos. Okay? Um that is usually possible if we design it in a way that we consider the right vector representations with respect to the object's centroids and center of mass. Okay. Because as mentioned here, not doing so could lead to vibration, instability, and control errors. Some of the common problems in our electronic systems. Okay. In PCB design, sensor data is used by pick and place machines for accurate component mounting. Okay, so if you want to be accurate, um, we perform vector analysis with proper location of or proper with identification of the proper or correct centroids of the object. Okay, so what else? Note that most real engineering structures are composite, consisting of multiple parts. That's the problem, because the real world does not have a perfect square, perfect circle, perfect triangle at all times. Most of the objects we see is a combination of different shapes, or sometimes they have an irregular shape that cannot be described plainly, like what you see here. This is an irregularly shaped object. So with that, we cannot actually derive the exact location of our centroids. But what we can do is to make assumptions only or approximations. So, um, okay, for discrete areas or volumes, we can use this formula. Specifically, this is for areas. But if you're solving for the volume, then you just change the A with the V and you add the Z component. Okay, so for areas, we only have X and Y, but for the volumes, then you should have the X, Y, and Z, and then replace A with the V. Okay, basically just summations of the different cross-sectional areas in a volume or in a solid. Okay, but if we are dealing with COMs, okay, we are assuming the centroid are not equal to the center of mass, then we are dealing actually with mass-based systems. That's why instead of the area or the volume, we now consider the mass. Okay, uh, same formula actually. Instead of A, we are now using M or M for mass. Okay. So for the same way, for areas, we only have X and Y, but for volume, we have X, Y, and Z. All right. Um, okay. For mass-based system, it's the same. We still have the mass, although we are computing for solids. Okay. What else? I think you can observe some of these examples, like this one, this plain area that has that is a combination of different shapes. Okay, or this one, a robotic arm, or representation of a robotic arm, consisting of a forearm, an upper arm, a forearm, and a hand. Okay, so the principle is basically the same, and we use this assumption or approximation of the location of the centroid or the center of mass. Okay. By the way, in the real world also, we cannot assume that the centroid is close to the COM. Okay, in the real world. That's why we normally have the XCOM and YCOM, YCOM and YXCOM instead of centroids. Okay, we only use the centroids for simplicity. Okay, for discussion purposes. Okay, especially if you are modeling using ideal scenarios. Okay, ideal because we are assuming the object has or the object is homogeneous, meaning equal density in all parts of it, right? Moreover, the center is not merely a geometric concept. It is a vector quantity that defines effective location of distributed properties such as area, mass, charge, or thermal energy. And like what we mentioned earlier, the location of a centroid can be expressed using a vector, position vector. Okay, remember the IJK unit vectors. Okay, and we can uh incorporate this concept for to our formula, our equations earlier in the previous slide. Okay, for for analyzing discrete systems and for analyzing mass-based systems. Um, the centroid is a weighted vector average, making vector algebra essential for computation and interpretation. Okay, so this is the part where we see the um the intersection of the two important concepts in this module. Okay, and you're going to see in the next section, actually there's more. There's another part that these concepts um combine. Okay, so for now, let's end this video and see you in the next one.